Tēnā koutou katoa. My name is Sarah Mayo, and it's my pleasure to welcome you this afternoon to this Education Hub webinar. We are really privileged today to have Rachel Williamson and Hazel Fowler joining us. They're going to talk to us about the summer learning journey. So just a reminder to everyone, if you'd like to ask a question during the webinar, you can use the chat function, and we'll do our best to get those questions to Rachel and Hazel during the webinar. Okay, kia ora koroa. Thank you so much for joining us. It's really wonderful to have you here today. So let's get into the questions. The first one is, many of us will have heard about the program in the news media. You've been on the news a couple of times, I think, all through our schools. But for those of us who are unfamiliar with it, could you just begin by explaining to us exactly what the summer learning journey is?
Oh, sure. Well, thank you, firstly, for having both Hazel and I. It's a real treat for us to have the chance to talk about this program. So it is a digital literacy program. It runs at the moment in 6 clusters of schools across New Zealand, the purpose being to address a really persistent and consistent slide or slump that we're seeing in literacy achievement for students, particularly those in predominantly low decile neighborhoods. And so what we're repeatedly seeing as teachers and as educational researchers are students achieving extremely well throughout the year, taking a break over summer, and seeing a real drop in both their reading and their writing achievement scores when they come back to school. And so I was hired about 4 years ago by the University of Auckland to take a look particularly at this summer slide or summer learning effect, and to try to come up with a digital solution. And really that's where the summer learning journey emerged.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the background to the program?
Sure. So the program itself emerged in a cluster of schools called the Manaiakalani cluster. So this is a cluster of schools that have adopted a digital pedagogy, so an approach to teaching and learning that's really specific to the utilization of Chromebooks and iPads. And so they were looking at really methods for improving student learning over summer that were digital. They were looking at having someone come in who was external to the organization, someone who could come in and engage predominantly with their year 4 to year 8 students. And so I came in November of 2015, met with the teachers, met with the students, and over the course of about 3 weeks, came to grips with digital curriculum, did my very best to understand what was happening in schools and what I could do to create something that was going to be a consistent extension for the students of the learning they already had in the classroom. And so came up with this idea of developing a blogging program that was website-based, that the students could access throughout the summer holiday, that they could engage with, and then they could use their blogs that they already had through the school set up to answer the different activity prompts, and then we as a staff sat in behind them all through the summer period, reading the students' work and providing personalized feedback. And that's really where it started in just 3 small Manaiakalani schools, and now we're in about 52.
Lovely. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about what the program looks like now?
Sure. That's a natural extension of the program now. We've got 52 schools. We have thousands of students across New Zealand who are logging on to our Summer Learning Journey website. It's a website that contains a program curriculum. Each year that curriculum differs. We choose a theme. This year, our theme is the world around us. So we're looking at the environment. In the past, we've looked at understanding more about our natural world. We've looked at traveling around the world. We've looked at things like the Olympics. We've hopped in a car and traveled from the top of the North Island to the bottom of the South and had a Kiwi road trip. A real range of themes, but the program itself is built upon the same key design principles. And essentially that means that all the students access the program on the site, choose from a range. This year we have about 60 activities that the students can choose from, and they complete them in any order, at any time, and really in any way they want to over the summer holiday period. We just consistently are online every day irrespective of which students are blogging and irrespective of which activity they've chosen, to provide them with some supportive, constructive feedback, and also to really prompt and encourage them to engage with each other as well. So it's a social program, and it's a literacy-based learning program as well.
Lovely. Well, that leads really nicely into my next question, which is about what the experience of participating in the blogging programs like from the point of view of the team who run it over the summer and interact with these students.
Yes, well, it's my pleasure to turn the mic over to my co-leader, Hazel. And so Hazel joined our team a year ago as a summer scholar, came on board and helped with the design, the implementation, and evaluation of last year's program, and fortunately has agreed to sign on with us again this year. So I'll turn it over to Hazel just to talk about the perspective and the experience of the team.
Hi. So the experience of participating in the program as a team member is super rewarding. You get to engage with the kids from all over the country, and they all have different experiences and things that they bring to the table. So when you're reading their blogs, we assign each team to a specific cluster, so you can kind of form relationships with the kids throughout the summer. And it's really cool to catch up and just say, when you read their blog post and they talk about what they did in the weekend, bringing that back to their lives, and you kind of get to know them really well. And then at the end of the summer, when we go back into the schools and hand out the prizes to our top bloggers and top commenters, and you can kind of put a face to the blogs as well, that's really nice. And you have a lot of them kind of trying to have a conversation with you. So after we give the feedback, a lot of them will respond to that with some more information. So if you said, I really like what you've done here, relating it back to, your town, can you tell me a bit more about why this place is special to you? And then you'll start having a conversation, and other kids, maybe from their school, maybe from their cluster, maybe from up north, talking to kids down in Greymouth on their blogs and sharing their learning, which is really cool to see and be a part of as well.
That's lovely. So I'm wondering if you could maybe tell us a little bit more about what it's like, what the experience is like from the students' point of view. I'm wondering, just based on feedback that they've given you and things that the students involved have said, what's it like? What's the experience like for them?
The students love it, and there was a couple of schools that even over the September holidays, that short 2-week break, there were a couple of schools in the original cluster that designed their own program. Some of the students did, because they loved it so much that they didn't want to not blog over the holidays. So a group of the Year 8 students got together and wrote some activities and posted them for the other kids at their school to do, and then they gave them feedback as well. So they really enjoy it. Not just because, there's the prize incentive, but they genuinely enjoy being able to share that learning and have that connection, because for some of them, they may not have the opportunity to connect with other people outside of their family over the holidays. So it's nice for them to have that contact with each other and with us and the team as well. And we've got a video on the website that you can watch about one of our past participants who's been in it for a few years. His name's Daniel, and he talks about what it means to him and his family as well.
Brilliant. And is it true that some students even blog on Christmas Day?
Yes. Christmas Day is one of the busiest days. So the program opens up on the first day of the school holidays, which this year is the 17th of December. And then it's open for the whole 6 weeks up until the 25th of January next year. And so over that time, they can complete any of the activities they want. So if they're blogging on Christmas Day, someone will be there to be able to give them feedback on that as well.
Wow, that's really cool. Now, my next question is about some of the outcomes, because I know you've seen some really strong results from this program. So I wonder if you can tell us about some of the measurable outcomes that the schools participating in the program have reported.
Yeah, I might hand back over to Rachel for this one. I think she's got a presentation with some graphs as well that she can share.
Brilliant, thank you.
This is quite the tag team that we have happening here. Yeah, fortunately we do, because we are associated with the University of Auckland and actually based at the Wolf Fisher Research Centre. We have access to reasonable resources around evaluating both the implementation of this program and the outcomes. And so traditionally, over at least the past 3 years, every summer, we evaluate impact, and we evaluate it using standardized measures of assessment. So we use the EASTL writing test, and we use the PAT reading test. These are tests that all the students in all our schools are quite accustomed to. These are tests that are administered at the end of each academic year as well as the beginning of the academic year. And this presents for us a really natural opportunity to assess change from the end of one school year to the beginning of the next. And essentially what we have seen and what we continue to see are really statistically significant differences in achievement for those students who blog versus those who don't. And more specifically, what we do as researchers is we take a look at who's blogged with us, we collate them into a single group, then we look for a matched control group. That's essentially a group of students who are same age, same gender, same school, same classroom, same patterns of learning over the year. And so therefore, we would really expect them to behave similarly over summer. We would expect their reading achievement levels and their writing achievement to be reasonably similar. And what we find with those students who blog is that they're actually maintaining their reading and their writing achievement, which for these students would be the first time in their academic career that they are not experiencing a drop, slide, slump, any of those great terms we tend to use around the summer learning effect. Just blogging as the one measurable difference in outcome does seem to have really formidable impact. And we've seen this in Auckland, we've seen it in Northland, we've seen it in Greymouth, we've seen it in Christchurch. So it does seem to be an effect that is irrespective of region, ethnicity, age, general background, etc. We're seeing this positive impact. So it's really exciting for our team. We're trying, though, at the moment to understand even more what impact the frequency of blogging might have. In other words, do students need to blog with us every day to realize this kind of positive impact? Do they need to blog with us once a week? And so we've started a preliminary evaluation just in the last year. And what our preliminary results show is that students need to blog just twice a week. And so that's about 20 to 25 minutes a session. So we're looking at less than an hour a week of blogging, producing really statistically significant difference in both reading and writing achievement for our young children, our young tamariki. And so we're going to be retesting that hypothesis this summer, but we're really excited. We think that points to, a real possible way forward for these children.
Wow, that's really exciting. And I just want to pick up on a couple of things you've already mentioned. You've talked about some of the social benefits of the program for the students, and you also just gave us that lovely example of students showing some real agency about the program, about participating and about running it for themselves. So I'm just wondering if the schools and the teachers and the students that you work with have reported any other intangible benefits to the students in terms of their confidence or their self-efficacy or their perception of themselves as learners.
Sure. I absolutely am thrilled to talk about this component of the program because we developed it initially with a very specific direction and focus. We were there to address issues with literacy achievement. But what we have found is that this program is far more than a literacy program. It really is an opportunity to connect socially and positively online over a lengthy summer holiday break where most of our students aren't necessarily able to engage with each other. And certainly our students in geographically disparate areas, in rural areas. Those students of ours who will travel overseas with their families are obviously not able in the same way to engage with their friends. And so they're starting to use the summer learning journey as an opportunity to log on, to learn, to create a blog, to share it, and then to read and support each other. And so the feedback from the teachers has been really positive. They'll often say to us they can determine which of their students were summer learning journey bloggers when they come back at the beginning of the next year. Because those students are buzzing and they're talking about what they've learned and they want to share it and they're excited and they're really ready. They're ready to come back. They're ready to learn and they hit the ground running. The students who haven't been actively engaged in a program like the summer learning journey struggle. It's a long time to be away from your traditional learning opportunities. And so we see teachers positively and happily supporting the idea of something like a blogging program. And then we see the students, and they are just gorgeous. They're often going to be commenting on each other's work. They'll often form really lovely relationships with each other, sometimes across quite a distance. You know, a child in Christchurch will be blogging with a child up here in Auckland or Northland, sharing experiences, realizing they have some similarities, drawing on those, and knowing, and hopefully with our families as well, knowing that it's always monitored and moderated by educational professionals, in this case by a team of approximately 20 people that we have online throughout that entire summer holiday period, reading, supporting, encouraging, role modeling, ways of engaging positively online. So we've seen one incident basically in 4 years of behavior online that was even remotely questionable. The rest of the time, our students are online, defying all the stories we hear about cyberbullying and negative online behavior and difficulties. We just don't see it. We see students who are out there telling each other how great they are, how cool it is that they're learning this, and drawing connection. So from a well-being perspective and a whole health perspective, we're thrilled.
That's brilliant. That's so exciting to hear. So you've explained to us that the program at this stage is only open to schools that are part of a Manaia Kalani cluster. But I know that there are lots of resources that are available for teachers to use for free in their own schools. They're available through your website. So I wonder if you could tell us a little bit more about those resources that are available and how some teachers have been using them.
Oh, certainly. I'll turn this over to our teacher in the team who is currently teaching, and I think she'll be able to draw some great parallels.
Sorry, could you just repeat what that part was? So that was about the resources in the classroom?
Yeah. So what are the resources on the website that teachers can use, and how have you heard that some teachers have been using them?
So one of the things on our website that's probably most aligned with what we do is we've got all of our old archived programs. So the last 5 iterations of the program are all up there in full, and that's all of the activities that people can log on to, download and use in their classrooms, and that and that students that are new to the program can also have a look at to get an idea of what we're doing and what we're about. We've also got links on there to the Auckland Libraries or the local libraries as well. They ran a program called Go Wild or Get Wild, which was kind of similar in that it had different activities that kids could do online relating to the natural world and the environment, which are really good for them to do over summer. At my school, part of our library program, we've just introduced ebooks. I think that's through Wheelers, which means that over the holidays, if the kids don't have access to go to their local library, then they can also just be downloading them at home, which they've loved. And that also comes with audiobooks. So children with dyslexia who sometimes have access issues in that way, they can also enjoy the joy of reading through audiobooks as well. And in terms of writing, in my class, a lot of what they do is online. It's not fully digital, but a lot of it is done on their devices. About 60% of them bring their own device, I'd say, and then we have a school set as well. And when they do written tasks, a lot of them will be working in a Google Doc, which means that their learning can easily be shared with peers, which is interesting because sometimes you say, can you share it with someone, and they just hit the share button and think that is sharing. So trying to overcome that barrier, no, I want you to sit down and share it with someone. But then having the suggest feature means that if, looking at their work, if you suggest something rather than just changing it for them or something, you can easily see and track how they're doing. They can see what they need to work on, and you can get them, I often get them to leave comments on each other's work in that way as well. And then you can see how they're responding to each other, and they can refer back to that all the time as well as recording any verbal feedback. They're responsible for writing that down and recording what we've had in a conversation or what they've got from a peer as well. Yeah.
Brilliant. So you can basically use those questions and themes and ideas from the previous iterations of the program in your classroom with the students on their own devices, their Chromebooks or whatever they're using. And that's a resource that any teacher can access, whether or not they're part of the program. Is that correct?
They're all up there free to download. The program itself only runs in those areas because that's who we've got funding to have a team to respond to over the holidays. So unfortunately, we just don't have enough people to be able to respond to every child in New Zealand as much as we'd love to. But all of those past programs are there for kids if they just want something to do. They can do that themselves. A lot of teachers who last year when we rolled it out for the first time, they hadn't seen some of it before. So we directed them to that archive content, and they would introduce it in their classes and go through some of the past activities with their students to get them, up to speed and used to blogging and responding to the activities in that way. So that was a really good introduction, so that when the kids got to the summer holidays and they were doing it by themselves, they knew what to expect and how to do that.
Brilliant. That's great. Thank you, Hazel.
And I think Rachel's got some more general resources as well that the teachers can use too.
Perfect. Thanks, Hazel. Yeah, we are often asked, particularly because this is a digital program only open at the moment, as Hazel said, to specific clusters of schools as part of this initial partnership. We are so keen, though, to support as many students as we can and to support as many teachers as we can. And so, as Hazel said, there are often library programs available. The Auckland Libraries offer a Dare to Explore program that all students in primary and intermediate school are welcome to walk into any library across the city. We partner with the librarians, and we often travel around to schools together, promote the blogging as a writing initiative and the Dare to Explore as a reading initiative. It's sort of a complementary literacy program. We're very aware as well that the Auckland Library has ebook opportunities, and that through the libraries, our students are able to access that information. There are reading programs, dedicated reading programs, certainly in various communities across the country. But we have found that it is so incumbent upon our teachers to really instill in our children an understanding of and an ability to utilize these resources before they leave school. And so, of course, in many communities, our parents are able to actively engage with the children over summer, but certainly in the communities that Hazel and I are working, it's just not always possible. There are often large families and often a lot of competing demands around resourcing. And so there just might not be that opportunity to really readily access or travel to external sources of support. And so we're trying to treat the summer learning journey as a repository, as a place where teachers all around the country can go right now. The website is summerlearningjourney.co.nz, all small letters, all one word. And we have a resources tab with links to dozens of different websites, all literacy-based, with these 5 programs, hundreds of activities ranging from describing and explaining right through to critiquing and arguing, a real range of literacy-based scope. And we as a team will do our best to respond to students who do blog, but at the moment, as Hazel said, we are only funded to specifically respond to these 6 clusters. So fingers crossed that we can grow, we can continue to support, and that our team can expand, but at the moment, that's sort of our restriction.
Brilliant, thank you. Now, I understand that teaching students to stay safe online is a really important part of what you do in your program. And I'm just wondering if you could talk through some of the ways that teachers in schools can help promote online safety to their students, and whether or not you guys have got any resources that teachers can use around this.
Sure. Yeah. Again, I will pass this over to Hazel to describe, but we are always looking at ways as a program team to ensure the safety of our students. We take this issue very seriously and work very closely with the Manaia Kalani organization on student safety and have developed what's called the Cyber Smart curriculum. So I'll just pass over to Hazel to talk about that.
Hi. So as Rachel said, at the moment, the program only operates in the Manaiakalani cluster and the outreach clusters, and that's partly because all of those schools have gone through a cyber smart curriculum, which means that they have the knowledge and skills that are required to be safe online, and that's why it's really important that those students have dropped it. The digital footprint is the main one we look at. So how if you put something out into the internet, that is there, forever. Even if you delete it from your blog, it can be retrieved, and the importance and the significance of that, because I think that can be quite hard for people to grasp, especially when they're younger. Like, oh, well, it's gone. But looking at that, and so the Manaiakalani digital cyber smart curriculum focuses a lot on the digital footprint, being a cyber ninja. So knowing kind of, what to look out for. And they have a lot to do as well, not just being safe online, but also using the internet in positive ways and using that for research. So we look at how to attribute your images, so preparing them for skills that will get them in higher education. So if you're researching something, referencing your sources and skills like that as well, that also come along with it. And on the website, there is a whole tab about cyber safety with links to digital learning objects, DLOs, about cyber safety. It has also got a video that was made by one school is there as well about being a cyber ninja, and links to the Manaiakalani website where they discuss cyber safety in detail as well. Part of our team's job, not just responding to the students' work, is also looking out for things. If they've maybe shared a bit too much information, just responding that into a way that doesn't discourage them from participating in the project, but just reminding them about the importance of being safe online, and maybe gently suggesting them that they maybe edit what they've posted, or that they just have a think about how that might come across to someone who is reading it without the tone there as well. So that's another thing that our team kind of do and deal with in a really positive way as well, because we don't want to discourage them from participating, but just make sure they're doing it in a safe way.
Brilliant. So it sounds like you are not only teaching them to stay safe, but teaching them how to be really responsible digital citizens.
Yeah.
I think is something that we all need to learn.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So can you just go over that again? So on your website, there's a cyber safety tab, and anyone can click on that and access all the resources that you've got available around staying safe online.
Yeah, I think Rachel's just going to bring up our website to share, so you can all see it there. So on the Cyber Smart tab, just there on the top there, it's got a video made by the kids at Stonefield School about not sharing too much personal information online. So that's being a cyber ninja, kind of, disguising things so you keep yourself safe, leaving a positive digital footprint, and playing a game about being cyber safe, attributing images and referencing information that you find as well. And our website is fully accessible by anybody. So whilst you need to be part of the Manaiakalani cluster or outreach clusters to register for the program, anyone can log on and have a look at all the information. So all the information about cyber safety, all of the past programs are available to anybody.
That's brilliant. Thank you. That's really helpful.
Yeah, no.
Okay, I've got one last question for you both.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've heard that some schools who aren't part of those Manaiakalani clusters or outreach clusters are still choosing to run the program themselves, using resources from within the school, using volunteers. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about how some schools have chosen to do that.
Yeah. I mentioned briefly about the school that the students themselves put it on, but I'll just pass over to Rachel to talk about that in a bit more detail.
Wonderful. Yeah, this year, really, for the first time for us, we've had a number of schools across the country who have contacted us and asked how they can be a part of a program like this. And we're really keen to include anybody and everybody who wants to learn and who wants to support our learners over summer. So for those schools who are interested in a program like this, we do make the website fully publicly available. I do, on the Meet the Team tab, which I'll just share in a moment, have our contact details, and we do really warmly invite anyone from around the country to contact us and just have a discussion about how it might be possible to set something like this program up in the cluster. At the moment, we do have 2 sets of schools, clusters of schools, one in the South Island and one in the North Island, who've actually made the choice to set aside a little bit of money from the budget to actually hire the staffing that could sit in behind their students and effectively act as we do as commenters, as professional commenters, knowing that everything else is available on the website. So the program curriculum is there, the CyberSmart information is there. We have frequently asked question tabs for parents and for students and teachers that really kind of fill in the background of the program, explain how it works. And I've spent considerable time just working step by step with these principals to talk to them about how they can actually make this happen and empower their own students outside of the program. We also really actively encourage individuals to volunteer to read our students' work and to blog back. So I'll just share from our website really how that's possible. As I mentioned, we have our frequently asked questions page for parents and for teachers. On these pages, we have lots of information that just explains sort of where the program came from, how to join. We have links to all of our information around outcomes. We have lots of links to information about being cyber smart. And we will also have links as well to information from media posts too that just sort of further illustrates and explains the program. The program itself is on the weekly activities tab. And on this tab, when we're ready to load the program, we'll also have links to a Twitter feed. Now, this Twitter feed is really important in that it is going to be a link for anyone who wants to volunteer and read the students' work. And so if individuals are just interested in knowing what the students are blogging about, we'll have a link on the website that takes you to all the students' blogs from across all of our clusters. And it's really just a matter of following each of these links and they will take you to the students' blog site itself. You can read the students' work and literally post a comment in real time at the bottom of the students' blogs. It is just that simple. So we would encourage anybody and everybody with an interest in participating to explore the Summer Learning Journey website, to get in touch with Hazel or myself. You'll find again our contact information on the Meet the Team page, and to share hopefully some great learning with us over summer.
Brilliant. Thank you. That is really exciting. I've got one question from someone who's joining us online, and that is a question about whether or not the program is also available in secondary schools.
That's a great question. I think a really important one. At the moment, the program is only available in primary and intermediate schools. Having said that, we have trialed the program in secondary schools over the past 2 years, and we have found that this really is a program that can capture the imagination and engage with children up to about year 9. And after that, it is really going to become incumbent on us to create a new revised version. And I'm a secondary teacher myself, so I have a general idea of what the needs and expectations are of our secondary school, and I can assure you that's very much in the cards, and we're looking at that as one of our next steps. But I would suggest in its current form, this really is a program best geared to sort of year 4 to 8 students.
Right. Brilliant. Well, that's really exciting. We look forward to seeing what you come up with for our secondary school students. I think that could be a really, really interesting development. So we'll look forward to that.
Thank you.
And I think now it just is up to me to say thank you so much, both of you, for joining us. It's been a really fascinating conversation, and I've loved hearing all the detail about the program and the work that you've put into it. And I'm really encouraged to hear about the results that you are achieving in all the students in the schools who are participating in the blogging program, making those wonderful gains in their learning and their literacy, but also in their perception of themselves as learners and what they can achieve and how they can stay connected to their learning right through the summer. So it's been really interesting. Thank you so much. And we look forward to hearing more from you both in the future.
Wonderful. Oh, well, thank you, Sarah, and to everyone at the Education Hub for the opportunity to share. We'll very much look forward to coming back and hopefully sharing what we've learned with you again next year.
That's wonderful. Thank you both, and thank you everyone for joining us.